Welcome on board, Chosen One. Sit down, breathe, and don't even pretend you're ready for what's about to be said, because the truth I'm about to drop is the kind that rearranges spines, the kind that makes enemies choke on their own performances, the kind they swore you'd never hear. And here you are anyway, strolling in like the villain who finally decided to steal the script back. Let's not sugarcoat it. What they said about you? Yeah, I heard it. The whispering, the mocking, the fake pity that dripped off their voices like spoiled honey. They acted like you were some tragic character in their story. Cute. Look who is suddenly shaking now that you're here. The same legends who expected you to bow. They're the ones crawling behind the scenes, scrambling to erase the evidence of what they did when they thought you'd never rise again. They thought you'd be too heartbroken, too confused, too tired to ever connect the dots. Jokes on them. You didn't just connect the dots, you built a whole galaxy out of them. Press the like button and subscribe, Chosen One, because if you're here listening to this, you're already paying your revenge forward. Now let's walk into the real story, the one no one had the spine to say out loud. You've been living in the aftermath of a storm you didn't even start. The air around you right now feels different for a reason. You ever notice how quiet it gets right before truth hits? It's that silence where enemies lose their bravado, where the universe holds its breath, where the world watches you step into a space you were never supposed to reach. They feel it, that shift, that change in your energy. And it terrifies them, because the moment you stopped breaking down, their entire ecosystem started breaking apart. They wanted you confused. They needed you doubting yourself. They fed off your uncertainty like scavengers circling something they thought was dead. The second you began healing, even a little, they panicked. Not because they cared, not because they felt guilty, but because your healing meant their lies were losing power. And don't get it twisted. They weren't just running their mouths. They were running strategies, whisper networks, secret meetings, late-night phone calls where someone always said, "Don't worry, they'll never figure it out." Your name sat in rooms you were never invited to, soaked in jealousy, twisted into jokes, pulled apart by people who had nothing better to offer the world than commentary on you. And here's the part that hits like a blade sliding between ribs. They didn't mock you because you were weak. They mocked you because you were strong enough to intimidate them even while broken. You were the threat they couldn't control, so they tried to rewrite the story. They couldn't handle your resilience, so they labeled it desperation. They couldn't match your loyalty, so they painted it as clinginess. They couldn't stand your glow, so they dimmed every room you walked into with rumors and distortions until you couldn't recognize your own reflection. But history has receipts, and the universe keeps tabs. Remember that phase where you felt like you were losing everything, like you were slipping deeper into confusion, asking yourself why it hurt so much. That wasn't weakness, that was sabotage. Every time you tried to breathe, they tightened the rope. Every time you tried to rest, they planted another story. Every time you tried to rise, they sent a message specifically crafted to destabilize you. That wasn't coincidence, that was orchestration. People love to act innocent when the truth surfaces, but trust me, Chosen One, if you knew what they were saying when you weren't in the room, you'd block them on everything without hesitation, not out of bitterness, out of self-respect. Your pain was entertainment to them. They treated your heartbreak like a group project. Screenshots, whispers, exaggerated reenactments. They studied your suffering as if it made them intellectuals. Some sat there, replaying memories of you like highlights of a game they thought they won. Others used your name as currency to buy the illusion of superiority. But here's where everything flips. They never expected you to survive the hit. They underestimated the villain in you, the version of you that crawled out of the wreckage with clarity instead of chaos, the version of you that understands silence better than noise, the version of you that can see through people now, clean and sharp. What they don't know is that every betrayal matured you, every rumor upgraded you, every silent night rebuilt you. You didn't break, you transformed, and transformation is the one thing they can't undo. Chosen one, the universe watched every moment. When you begged for clarity, when you tried to fix what wasn't yours to fix, when you blamed yourself for the damage someone else designed. You thought you were alone in that dark, but no, you were being rewired. And now you're the storm they can't outrun. You're the proof that their entire performance collapses the moment you stop participating. So, welcome back. You're not the victim in this story anymore. You're the plot twist they never saw coming. Before we go any further, Chosen One, lock in for a second. If you've made it this deep into the truth, it means your instincts are already waking up. You can feel it, can't you? That little spark in your chest that says, keep going, something big is coming. And trust me, if you truly understood what they did behind your back, you'd already be blocking half the people you used to defend. Consider this the moment you step out of their storyline and walk into your own. If you're ready to pull every mask off, expose every hidden motive, and reclaim every piece of yourself they tried to twist, drop the number 777 in the comments. Not as some magical symbol, but as a warning siren to anyone who ever underestimated you. Hit the like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what comes next isn't just information. It's revelation, it's closure, it's the part where the villain you finally becomes the hero they feared. And now we dive deeper, step by step. And believe me, if you're truly the chosen one, you won't even want to click away. Let's begin. Number 1. The games they played blew up in their face. Funny how the loudest liars always scream victim the moment you stop letting them use your silence as their playground. Now let's drag this into the light, chosen one, because pretending they were harmless is exactly how they got away with half their nonsense. These people weren't just messy, they weren't just careless, they were architects of psychological warfare. They studied your reactions the way spies study enemy patterns, always calculating, always adjusting their tactics to get a little more control, a little more access, a little more of that twisted sense of power they fed on. And before you blame yourself for not seeing it sooner, let me remind you, their entire personality was a mask. The real face? You were never meant to see it. What they said was always fake concern. You know that tone they used, the one that disguised poison as pity. The classic, "Are you okay?" that sounded less like care and more like they were waiting for you to fall apart so they could feel superior. Every question was a jab, every suggestion was a setup. They weren't checking on you, they were checking your temperature like a hunter making sure their prey was still bleeding. And look who is suddenly acting confused now. The same clowns who studied your insecurities like homework are pretending they don't know why you walked away. They expected you to stay trapped in their little maze of mind games forever. They thought you'd always second-guess yourself just because they trained you to. Let's talk about their favorite trick, covert antagonism. That's the art of stabbing you softly while smiling sweetly enough that you start apologizing for bleeding. They'd remind you of your past mistakes as if they were helping you grow, but really they were sharpening your guilt against you. They weaponized your honesty. They twisted your openness. They used your empathy like a crowbar to break into your mind. It wasn't random. It wasn't accidental. It was planned. Every conversation was a controlled experiment. Every compliment had a hook hidden in it. Every apology had a loophole. Every "I didn't mean it like that" was a lie dipped in perfume. And here's the part that still makes your stomach flip. They counted on you not noticing. They counted on your kindness. They counted on your ability to forgive faster than they could manipulate. They studied your patterns the way scientists study lab rats. Every time you forgave them, they documented it as proof you'd let them do it again. You ever wonder why talking to them felt exhausting? Why your brain felt foggy? Why you walked away from conversations doubting things you were 100% sure about previously? That wasn't coincidence. That was psychological erosion. They wanted you confused. Confusion is control. Doubt is control. Silence is control. And when you finally reached your limit, when you stopped nodding along, when you stopped letting them twist your memories, when you said no more, they activated their deadliest tactic, the victim mask. Suddenly, you were unstable. You were overreacting. You were too emotional. You were the problem. They rewrote the storyline like they were speedrunning excuses. The tormentor became the saint. The liar became the martyr. The manipulator became the misunderstood angel who tried so hard to help you. They performed innocence so dramatically it could have won awards. And you stood there feeling like you were going crazy. You weren't. You were waking up. Let's be honest, they didn't want to help you. They wanted to find the softest spot in your soul and dig until you broke. They searched for cracks in you like thieves searching for a window left open. They targeted your insecurities to weaken you. They kept pushing until you questioned your sanity, your worth, your entire identity. But here's the punch they never saw coming. Instead of shattering, you evolved. When they said you'd fall apart without them, they forgot villains don't crumble, they recalibrate. You turned off the noise. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped defending your character to people who had none. You pulled your energy back like a weapon, and that was the one thing they couldn't handle. Your silence was not weakness. Your silence was intelligence. Your silence was the first step of your comeback. Do you know what silence does to manipulative people? It eats them alive. They're used to controlling the narrative, and suddenly the main character walked off set. They panic, they scramble, they stalk your energy from a distance because they can't stand not knowing what you're thinking anymore. They aren't scared of losing you. They're scared that without access to you, they lose their power. You didn't crumble into their cautionary tale. You became the nightmare of their ego. You became the villain they accidentally created. You became the one thing they can't manipulate, someone who sees the truth. And let's address the question creeping through your mind. Why would someone do this? Why target me? The answer is simple and ugly. They saw strength in you they didn't have. They saw a heart they could never emulate. They saw potential that made them feel small. Your softness intimidated them. Your honesty exposed them. Your loyalty embarrassed them. Weak people despise what reminds them of their own emptiness. And you? You were a walking mirror they hated looking into. They didn't destroy you. They revealed themselves. They taught you how to read energy, how to trust your intuition, how to recognize patterns, how to walk away with your dignity fully intact, even when your heart was bruised. They forced you into a level of self-awareness they never wanted you to reach, because self-aware people don't stay controlled. The manipulation tactics they used weren't signs of your weakness. They were signs of your threat level. Because chosen one, villains don't get targeted. threats do. And now that you see through everything, now that the mask is shattered, now that you know the games they played, there's only one logical next step. You block them everywhere, not out of fear, out of evolution, out of self-respect, out of the realization that people who wage psychological war on you don't deserve access to your empire. Their tactics failed, their plan collapsed, their power over you is gone. And the version of you standing here now? They couldn't manipulate that version even if they tried. The villain became the hero because you finally realized the truth. You were never theirs to break. You were always the one meant to rise. Number 2, the rooms where your name became their favorite lie. Funny how cowards sound brave when the person they fear isn't in the room. Chosen one, let's tear open the doors of those rooms you never stepped into, the ones where your name was tossed around like a weapon and a joke all at once. You weren't there physically, but trust me, your presence dominated those spaces more than the people talking ever could. What they said about you wasn't just gossip. It was a full-blown performance, a script they rehearsed so often they started believing their own delusion. They needed a villain, so they drew your silhouette on the wall and threw darts until it started looking like truth to them. Imagine this. A circle of nervous people pretending to be powerful, whispering your name with the same fear kids have when telling ghost stories. Not because you did anything monstrous, but because your strength, your honesty, your ability to see through people without even trying, terrified them. So what did they do? They flipped the narrative. You were the chaos. You were the dramatic one. You were the unstable one. They said it enough times to each other that it became their religion. They built a mythology around you because the real you made them uncomfortable. Cowards rewrite history so they don't have to face their own fingerprints on the crime. Here's the punch. They didn't just lie to others. They lied to themselves. They needed to believe you were the problem so they wouldn't have to confront their own guilt. Because if they admitted your kindness was real, your intentions were pure, and your loyalty was unmatched, then they'd have to confront the truth that they destroyed someone who never meant them harm. And that kind of honesty? It scorches. Most people would rather burn you than face their own flames. Imagine another scene, a table, your name thrown into the center like bait. One person brings up a distorted version of something you said, another adds seasoning, another nods dramatically as if they're in a courtroom making their final statement. They were building a character, not describing a person. They sculpted a version of you that was easier to hate, easier to blame, easier to sacrifice when they needed a villain to justify their own mistakes. People don't talk about you because you're weak. They talk because your existence exposes them. You ever wonder why they needed such a big audience for their lies? Why they repeated the same stories over and over? Why they exaggerated the smallest moments into scandals? Because deep down, they knew the truth wouldn't sell unless they dressed it up in fear. They were protecting their egos, not the group. They were uniting in the only way insecure people know how, by pointing their shaking fingers at someone stronger than all of them combined. And guess what question is creeping into your mind right now? Did everyone in those rooms hate me? No, not even close. There were people sitting quietly at the edge of the room, people who knew exactly what was happening, people who felt their stomach tighten every time your name was twisted into something ugly, people who saw you clearly but stayed silent because speaking up would have made them the next target. They weren't brave enough to defend you, but they weren't cruel enough to lie about you either. They just froze. Imagine someone in that room staring at the table, refusing to meet anyone's eyes while your reputation got shredded like confidential documents. Their conscience screamed at them, but fear gagged the words in their throat. That silence wasn't indifference. It was self-preservation. The group operated on one rule: agree or disappear. Anyone who questioned the narrative was shoved into the danger zone, and nobody wanted to sit there with you. Not then. And just like that, your absence became their favorite place to dump their insecurities. They painted you as toxic because admitting your goodness would expose their guilt. They called you manipulative because acknowledging your honesty would make their whole script collapse. They labeled you unstable because calling you strong would mean confronting why they tore you down in the first place. It wasn't truth, it was projection. The chaos they accused you of, that was theirs. The drama they pinned on you, their creation, the instability, their emotional mess leaking everywhere while blaming the person who didn't even know a war was happening. And while they were performing their little morality play behind those closed doors, let's talk about what was really going on. You were out there trying to understand yourself, trying to fix things, trying to communicate, trying to heal, trying to be transparent, responsible, kind. Meanwhile, they were backstage handing out roles. You equals villain, them equals saints. Truth equals whatever made them feel less guilty. It's wild how people will weaponize storytelling when the truth threatens their ego. They built a cult-like mentality around your destruction. Every time someone questioned the narrative, the group snapped back with reminders, warnings, twisted anecdotes, and emotional blackmail. We all agree, right? Remember what they did? Don't forget how dangerous they are. They had to keep repeating it to keep the lie alive, because if even one person stood up and said, "Actually, I don't think that's true," the entire illusion would crack. Lies need a crowd. Truth stands alone and still terrifies them. Let's answer another question sitting in your mind. Do they regret it now? Some do, more than they'll ever admit. They think about you at night not because they miss you, but because guilt doesn't sleep. They replay moments. They realize how easily they allowed themselves to be manipulated into hurting someone who never threatened them. But here's the thing. Guilt after the damage is meaningless. Courage in the moment is rare. Retrospective guilt is cheap. There are people from those rooms who scroll your social media silently. People who imagine running into you and explaining everything. People who want to apologize but are too ashamed to face the version of you that survived without them. They thought you would break. You didn't. You evolved. And now their guilt has no place to land because the person they betrayed is no longer standing in the ruins. They're standing above them. Imagine this final scene, the same room, the same group, the same whispers, but this time, when your name comes up, the energy is different. There's tension, there's discomfort. Someone shifts in their seat. Someone bites their lip. Someone mumbles, "Maybe we shouldn't talk about this anymore." Because the truth they couldn't see back then is clear now. You weren't the problem. You were the threat. And they weren't the heroes. They were the mob that needed a target. They built their identity on breaking you, but you rebuilt yours on walking away. And the universe has a funny habit of rewarding the one who chose truth over performance. Chosen one, those rooms didn't define you, they exposed them. What they said behind your back says nothing about your worth and everything about their fear. And the fact that you're still here, stronger, sharper, and done playing their puppet, that's the final plot twist they'll never recover from. Number 3. the reality they tried to steal from you. Only liars demand you doubt what your soul remembers clearly. Chosen one, let's dissect the gaslighting, their favorite weapon, their signature poison. They didn't just twist the truth, they twisted you. Gaslighting is psychological vandalism. It's breaking into someone's mind and rearranging the furniture so they trip over things that weren't there yesterday. These people perfected it. Imagine this. They stab you verbally, then tilt their head like you're the one holding the knife. Cruelty delivered at 9 p.m., denial by 9:05. They'd say something venomous, then shrug and whisper, "You're imagining things." They'd act cold, then look shocked when you felt hurt. They wanted you questioning your sanity, because if you didn't trust your own mind, you'd have no choice but to rely on theirs. Gaslighting isn't confusion, it's control dressed as innocence. And slowly, your reality began bending. You second-guessed your instincts. You replayed conversations like crime scenes. You wondered, am I overreacting? Am I the problem? That's exactly what they wanted. Your doubt was their leash. But here's the plot twist that burned their whole strategy to ashes. Gaslighting collapses the moment the target stops engaging. The second you stopped arguing, stopped explaining, stopped validating their fake innocence, their entire illusion crumbled. Imagine a magician forced to perform with the lights fully on, no audience, no darkness, no tricks left. Manipulators need emotional reaction like fire needs oxygen. Your silence suffocated them, your distance killed their script. You broke the game simply by refusing to play. And now, they're left alone with the truth they tried to bury, and it terrifies them. Number 4, their little lies turned into a full-blown war. Funny how they needed an entire audience just to attack one person strong enough to stand alone. Chosen one, let's drag the smear campaign into the spotlight, because this wasn't gossip. This wasn't people talking. This was a coordinated hit job on your character, a social assassination plotted by people who knew they couldn't defeat you honestly. Smear campaigns are psychological grenades. Pull the pin, toss the story, then pretend they weren't anywhere near the explosion. And these people? They deployed them with precision. Imagine this. They took your real pain, your real vulnerability, and twisted it like a wet towel until every drop looked like instability. They grabbed your reactions to their cruelty and presented them as random meltdowns. They cut out context like surgeons removing evidence. To them, truth wasn't a value. It was raw material to sculpt a lie. They didn't tell your story. They told a story that kept them comfortable. And the audience? They swallowed it whole. No questions, no curiosity, no loyalty, just instant judgment. You watched people shift around you, colder, quieter, suspicious. Suddenly, you weren't being treated like yourself. You were being treated like the character they invented. The real purpose wasn't just to make you look bad. It was to isolate you. They wanted you walking into every room, already defeated by a reputation that wasn't yours. They wanted your social ground to feel like quicksand. Defend yourself and sink. Stay silent and sink faster. Imagine a chessboard where every move you make already looks wrong because they've rigged the light. Why do smear campaigns work? Because manipulative people pick traps where no response looks good. If you get emotional, see, unstable. If you stay calm, see, cold. If you try to explain, see, defensive. If you don't, see, guilty. And they know it. It's never about truth. It's about caging you inside a story they control. But here's the part they never predict. Truth ages like fire. It burns hotter the longer it's hidden. Eventually, people start noticing patterns. They start seeing that person repeating the same drama cycle with someone new. They start realizing, wait, why does every story end with them as the victim? The mask doesn't slip. It cracks. And when it cracks, their entire narrative collapses like a house built from wet paper. Some people will feel guilty, some won't, but every single one of them will know the truth when it hits, and that knowledge, it won't leave them alone at night. Meanwhile, you rise above the ashes of every lie they told. You don't just survive the smear campaign, you outlive it. Number 5, the celebrations they threw when you fell. Some people don't stab you in the back. They throw parties when you hit the floor. Chosen one, brace yourself, because this part isn't pretty. What they did behind your back wasn't just petty. It wasn't just cruel. It was monstrous. While you were trying to breathe through your lowest moments, while your world felt like it was collapsing, they raised their glasses in rooms you were never invited to. Imagine that. You're crying, breaking, losing sleep. And somewhere else, someone is leaning back in their seat saying, finally. They called your pain karma. They called your heartbreak justice. They acted like your suffering was a cosmic reward for them. And the worst part, it bonded them. Your downfall became their group therapy, their entertainment, their weekend pastime. Toxic people don't bond over love. They bond over their favorite target, you. Imagine wolves smiling at each other because they think the lion finally fell. But the poison ran deeper. They didn't just celebrate your struggles, they engineered more of them. They reached out to people in your life with fake concern dripping off their tongues. Those little comments, I'm worried about them, or they've been acting strange, were seeds planted with surgical precision, seeds that grew into doubt, suspicion, and distance. By the time you walked back into the room, the soil was already poisoned. You felt the shift before you understood the cause. And here's the part that slices harder than anything. Some of the people you trusted most, your safe people, were double agents, smiling at you while betraying you, listening to your private pain only to serve it on a silver platter to the very people rooting for your destruction. They traded your vulnerability like currency, screenshotting, whispering, reporting, pretending loyalty while feeding your enemies content for their next hate session. Imagine confiding in someone, not knowing they're turning your wounds into a group project. Enemy betrayal hurts. But betrayal from those you loved, that's the kind that rewires you. You weren't paranoid, you weren't imagining things. The room was contaminated, and you were the only one who didn't know. Number 6. The clock they set long before you knew a war was coming. Some betrayals don't start with a knife, they start with a notebook. Chosen one, this part is going to flip your whole understanding of your past, because the timeline you saw wasn't the real one. What you thought was the beginning of the betrayal was just the moment the mask slipped. The real start? That happened long before the first argument, long before the first red flag, long before you ever felt something was off. Imagine this, you're laughing with them, trusting them, opening up, believing you found people who finally understood you. Meanwhile, in the shadows of those same moments, they're studying you. Not with love, with calculation. Every vulnerability you shared, documented, every insecurity you expressed, stored, every apology you made, interpreted as weakness. You were building a bond. They were building a dossier. The betrayal didn't start when they hurt you. It started the moment they realized you were worth breaking. People think betrayal happens suddenly, but real betrayal is slow brewed. It begins in the quiet moments when you felt safe, when you let your guard down, when your heart opened without hesitation. That's when they gathered ammunition. That's when they prepared their version of the story. That's when they built the case they planned to use against you. And you wonder, why wait so long? Why pretend to care? Because they needed you invested. They needed your loyalty before they weaponized it. They needed you to trust them so deeply that when they finally struck, the impact would knock the air out of your lungs. This wasn't impulsive cruelty. This was premeditated psychological warfare. Imagine a chess player moving slowly, quietly, strategically, preparing the board long before the checkmate even becomes visible. That's what they did. They studied your emotional landscape like cartographers, mapping unknown territory, noting every trigger, every sensitive point, every place they could hit you hardest. And when did they choose to strike? The moment you became a threat. The moment you started growing. The moment your evolution exposed their stagnation. Your glow didn't blind them. It exposed how dim they were. Your success, your healing, your growth, those weren't just inconvenient for them. They were intolerable. Because people who rely on your weaknesses for superiority panic the moment you start leveling up. Your evolution wasn't an accident, but neither was their betrayal. They always knew the day would come when your light outshined their shadows, and that was the moment they decided the war had to begin. Number 7. Their sorry was just another trap. Some apologies aren't bridges, they're fishing lines thrown out to reel you back into chaos. Chosen one, let's tear apart the fake apologies they tossed your way, because those weren't expressions of guilt. Those were strategic moves, scripts written by people who suddenly realized losing access to you made them look bad. They didn't apologize because truth hit them. They apologized because consequences did. The moment they saw you healing, rising, rebuilding without them, panic set in. Your silence made them uncomfortable. Your progress made them exposed. Your absence made them guilty in the eyes of anyone paying attention. Imagine this, a villain wiping blood off their hands before knocking on your door saying, "Hey, can we talk?" That was their apology, a performance, a public relations stunt, damage control disguised as vulnerability. They didn't apologize to fix the past, they apologized to protect their image. And the apology always came with strings attached, conditions, explanations that twisted the story until somehow you were partly to blame. They'd say, "I'm sorry, but you have to understand," or "We both made mistakes," or "Let's just move on." Translation: I need you to stop telling the truth because it ruins my reputation. Imagine someone handing you a gift box and inside is a map leading back to the same battlefield you escaped. That's what their apology was, an invitation back into the trap. Real apologies free you. Theirs tried to cage you again, and the hollowness you felt, that was your intuition recognizing the mask before the face. Number 8. Their minds are a labyrinth of self-inflicted delusion. Some monsters don't hide under beds, they hide inside their own excuses. Chosen one, this part is darker than anything we've covered so far because their psychology isn't just toxic, it's terrifying. These people don't sit around plotting like classic villains, rubbing their hands together. No, their evil is more pathetic and more disturbing. They genuinely believe they're good people. They've twisted the storyline so violently in their own minds that they've cast themselves as the heroes and you as the villain. they bravely had to defend themselves against. Imagine someone burning down a house, then standing in the ashes, crying about how the match accidentally jumped into their hand. That's their mind, a total rewrite of reality, cognitive dissonance so strong it bends the truth until it snaps. They don't lie to you first. They lie to themselves, then offer you the edited version. Admitting what they did, every smear, every manipulation, every betrayal, would shatter their fragile self-image. So instead of taking responsibility, they double down, they justify, they reframe. They paint every act of cruelty as self-defense. They tell themselves, I had no choice, because facing the truth would force them to confront the monster in the mirror. And here's the part that will make your skin crawl. They sleep peacefully. They don't feel guilt. They don't feel horror. They don't feel remorse. Their minds protect them from the truth, like a faulty alarm system that refuses to ring. Imagine a villain so delusional they truly believe the hero deserved to be destroyed. That's them, and that's why you walking away wasn't just smart. It was survival. Number 9. The move that ends their power for good. Closure doesn't come from their apology. Closure comes from the door you lock behind you. Chosen one, here's where everything shifts from revelation to strategy. You finally see the truth. Now you need to know what to do with it. And let me be blunt. You don't confront people like this. You don't argue with them. You don't present evidence. You don't force them to confess. That's not closure. That's re-enrollment into the circus they run. Confrontation only gives them access, and access is their playground. Imagine trying to wake someone who is sleepwalking through their own lies. You shake them, and they fight harder. That's them. They're not waking up. They're not accepting truth. They're not taking accountability. They're too deep inside their own fantasy to ever meet you in reality. Trying to make them understand is like trying to teach a shadow how to stand upright. So what do you do now? You leave, cleanly, coldly, completely. You block them, not as revenge, but as self-preservation. Every open door is a potential entry point for more manipulation, more chaos, more psychological residue. Blocking them isn't petty, it's protective. It's the firewall your heart needed months ago. Next, you grieve, not the real relationship, but the illusion. You're mourning a version of them that never actually existed outside your hopes, loyalty, and imagination. You loved who they pretended to be. You trusted the character they performed. Meanwhile, the real version was plotting behind the curtain, and that realization hurts. But it also frees you, because once the fantasy dies, the truth finally has room to breathe. Number 10. The collapse they never expected to watch. Karma doesn't knock. It walks in silently and rearranges the room while they're bragging. Chosen one, the moment you pulled your energy back, everything around them started unraveling. Not with thunder, not with fireworks, just a quiet shift so precise it felt surgical. That's the part they never saw coming. They thought cutting you down would elevate them. Instead, the universe did what it always does when the wrong people hold stolen power. It flipped the board. Their lies aged like milk left in the sun. The stories they told so confidently started cracking because lies require maintenance, and they're too sloppy to keep the same script straight. Imagine their faces when people replayed old conversations and realized the math wasn't mathing anymore. Suddenly, they were the inconsistent ones, the dramatic ones, the unstable narrators of their own downfall. Karma's favorite trick is letting someone talk long enough to expose themselves. And those alliances they built, held together by gossip and mutual hatred of you. Without you, as their common enemy, the glue dissolved. They turned on each other like starving wolves. Fake friendships collapsed, secrets leaked. The same tactics they used on you, they started using on each other. Meanwhile, your glow-up didn't happen in spite of the betrayal. It happened because of it. Once their noise left your life, your clarity returned, your confidence rebuilt, your peace became louder than their drama. Imagine a garden finally growing once the weeds are gone. That's you. And watching you rise while they fall apart. That's the karma they never planned for. Number 11. The day you walked out was the day their empire cracked. Remove the scapegoat, and suddenly the real villains have no one left to hide behind. Chosen one. Here's the part they'll never admit out loud. Their downfall didn't begin months later or years later. It started the exact day you left. The instant your energy, your presence, your stability, your compassion disappeared from that environment. The whole group dynamic collapsed like a flimsy stage set with no main pillar to hold it up. You were the lightning rod, the one absorbing every surge of conflict, every projection, every insecurity they threw around like confetti. With you gone, the storms didn't stop. They simply redirected inward. The chaos they once pinned on you started showing up between them. The arguments they swore you caused, now erupting without your name involved at all. The tension they blamed on you, still there, but now with no convenient target to blame it on. Take away the person they scapegoated and watch how fast they turn on each other. Suddenly, the room felt different, tight, hostile, suspicious, because when the chosen one leaves, the truth doesn't stay hidden anymore. The real toxic one can't disguise themselves. The instigator becomes obvious. The manipulator loses their deflection strategy. The bully has no shield. Without you absorbing their dysfunction, their masks cracked at record speed. And just like that, the group that once bonded through tearing you down started tearing itself apart. Your absence exposed every secret, every insecurity, every hidden rivalry. Their downfall wasn't karma. It was simply what happens when the foundation they built on lies loses the only honest soul holding it together. Number 12. Your rise is the nightmare they can't wake up from. Nothing haunts a guilty soul more than the person they tried to break, becoming unbreakable. Chosen one, let's make this perfectly clear. Your evolution is their personal horror movie, not because you're doing anything to them, but because you stopped doing anything for them. Your silence, terrifying. Your healing, paralyzing. Your emotional clarity, a psychological earthquake they weren't built to survive. They expected you to shatter. They expected you to crawl back, begging for validation. They expected your identity to collapse without their approval. Instead, you did the one thing their entire manipulation system wasn't prepared for. You leveled up. Your glow isn't revenge. Your glow is the proof they were the problem. Your growth triggers guilt in the ones who know exactly what they did. The moment they see you standing taller, moving cleaner, speaking sharper, something inside them twists. They remember the lies. They remember the cruelty. They remember the moments they laughed at your pain. Now, that same pain forged you into something they can't compete with. Your silence triggers their paranoia. Your distance triggers their insecurity. Your progress triggers their envy. Your peace triggers their denial. Imagine them scrolling through your life, trying to figure out how you're calm while they're still spiraling. Imagine them replaying old memories, realizing you weren't the unstable one, they were. Imagine them seeing your evolution and feeling the truth rise like bile in their throat. You healing isn't just a win for you. It's a psychological punishment for them. It reminds them that you survived everything they hoped would destroy you. And to people like that, your evolution isn't just intimidating, it's unbearable. Number 13, the new era you're about to walk into. Your past didn't break you. It trained you for a kingdom they were never meant to enter. Chosen one, this is the part where the lights shift, the camera pulls back, and the entire atmosphere changes. Because everything before this, every betrayal, every lie, every manipulation, wasn't the ending of your story. It was the origin, the prologue, the necessary darkness that sharpened you into someone who can walk into a new life with eyes that see everything and a heart that bows to no one. You're not stepping into the same world you came from. That version of you is gone. The naive one, the overly forgiving one, the one who thought loyalty could fix people who were committed to their own destruction. That chapter has burned away, and all that's left is the version of you that finally understands your worth. Not because someone reminded you, but because your scars taught you. Imagine this, you walking forward, not with fear, but with precision. Every step calculated, every boundary reinforced like steel, every instinct sharpened to a blade. You don't need to announce this new life. Your energy does it for you. People will feel the shift before you ever speak. They'll sense the difference in the way you breathe, the way you move, the way you no longer bend where you once snapped. You didn't become colder, you became clearer. Your new life is built on self-respect so high it becomes a gate few can cross. The ones who get in will be the ones who've earned it, not the ones who manipulated entry. Your circle will shrink, not out of fear, but out of intention. You're stepping into a phase where trust is sacred, not automatic, where access is a privilege, not a default setting. And here's the poetic justice in it all. The same people who tried to break you will now watch from outside the fortress. Not because you're hiding, but because they were never meant to stand beside the version of you that survived them. Imagine them seeing you now, stronger, smarter, emotionally lethal in the best way. They don't get to claim any piece of the life you're building. They don't get to witness your growth up close. They don't get to harvest the piece they never planted. Their chapter closed the moment you chose yourself. Your silence didn't end the story, it upgraded the author. You're stepping into a life where you don't chase answers. You create closure. You don't entertain chaos. You shut the door on it. You don't prove your worth. You radiate it. And anyone who tries to rewrite your history simply exposes their own. This new era isn't about revenge. Revenge is small. You're too evolved, too experienced, too awakened for that. Your victory is bigger than revenge. Your victory is living a life so aligned, so peaceful, so powerful that the person they try to destroy becomes unrecognizable even to you. Walk forward now, not as the wounded one, not as the survivor, but as the villain turned hero of your own universe. The one who finally writes the story without asking permission. And now, chosen one, you've reached the end of the truth they never wanted you to see. You've walked through every shadow they cast and stepped out brighter, stronger, untouchable. This is your closing chapter with them, and your opening scene in a new era built on power, clarity, and absolute self-respect. If this message hit where it needed to, press like, subscribe to stay in this circle of truth, drop 77 in the comments to seal your transformation, and share this with someone who needs their eyes opened. Your story starts fresh from here. Number 5. When their poison stopped working and they realized you can't be infected twice. Nothing scares a manipulator more than the day their favorite tricks stop having any effect. It's like watching a magician choke when the rabbit refuses to die. They always misunderstood what you were made of. They thought angels were just vessels of light, floating around with open arms and soft hearts. They never realized angels carry darkness in their archives like a secret map. Not because they belong to the dark, but because they've battled it, survived it, reshaped it into wisdom. Real angels aren't naive. They're forged, tempered, hardened through contact with every shadow that tried to swallow them. Imagine this: someone keeps feeding poison to a creature they think is fragile, and suddenly the creature stops reacting. Suddenly the poison stops working. Suddenly the predator realizes the victim has grown fangs. You tried to stay pure, didn't you? You tried to stay soft. You tried to keep your intentions clean, your spirit clear, your heart untangled from the mess they kept dragging you into. But they were relentless. They kept injecting toxicity into every connection you offered, dripping venom into your trust, trying to twist your goodness into submission. They wanted to contaminate you just enough to keep you controlled. And when a system is attacked, it doesn't collapse. It adapts. Your evolution was biological, emotional, spiritual, a full-body upgrade. Their poison became your vaccine. Their lies became your antibodies. Their manipulation built your resistance. Let me answer the thought swirling in your mind. Why do I feel nothing now? Because that's what immunity feels like. It looks like indifference. It sounds like silence. It feels like absence. They interpret it as coldness, but it's not cold. It's clarity. You're immune to their guilt trips now, immune to their crocodile tears, immune to their recycled apologies, immune to their desperate last-minute promises. Imagine someone trying to punch a brick wall. They keep hurting themselves and calling the wall heartless. That's them now. Everything they used to weaponize against you rebounds and hits them instead. Their words have no hooks. Their games have no entry point. Their chaos has no influence. This immunity terrifies them because it exposes the truth they've been hiding. You were never weak. You were never breakable. You were simply untrained in the dark arts they depended on. Now you're fluent. Now you see through everything. Now you can walk through their storms without getting wet. They didn't break your spirit. They activated your defenses, and in doing so, they built a version of you that can't be touched, tricked, manipulated, or emotionally hijacked ever again. They created immunity. But you turned it into evolution, and that evolution turned you into someone they'll never be able to handle. Number 6. When your silence became the grave they dug for themselves. Nothing is louder than the moment you stop caring. It's the sound of their power collapsing. Your evolution didn't strike like lightning. It crept in like a slow eclipse, swallowing your old self inch by inch while everyone around you stayed blissfully unaware. Every day you gave less of your soul to people who didn't earn a single breath of it. Every smile felt thinner. Every response felt hollow. Every act of care felt like lifting a weight you no longer believed in. And then one morning, the feeling just wasn't there. It didn't fade. It vanished. Imagine looking into a mirror and seeing a version of yourself that no longer flinches, no longer bends, no longer bleeds for people who treated your heart like a doormat. That's the moment you met nothingness. And nothingness is terrifying because it means you've ascended past the entire game. They expected anger. Anger is predictable. Anger is emotional. Anger keeps you tied to them. But nothing. Nothing means freedom. Nothing means the cord snapped. Nothing means you walked out of the burning house without even glancing back. Let me answer the question circling in your mind. Is this bad? No, it's evolution's final form. They can't reach you anymore. They can't trigger you. They can't drain you. Your nothingness is not emptiness, it's immunity, and they'll feel the loss forever. Number 7. When you're quiet, turned into the judgment they can't escape. Silence is the executioner they never see. It kills their ego without you lifting a finger. Your silence isn't emptiness, it's strategy. It's the throne you sit on now, watching clowns do cartwheels for attention you no longer hand out. They keep poking, keep performing, keep trying to provoke the old version of you. The one who explained everything, reacted to everything, cared about everything. But that version died, and the burial was silent. Imagine standing behind glass, watching them throw tantrums on the other side. You see their exaggerated emotions, their fake tears, their desperate attempts to seem relevant, and you barely blink. Why? Because once you've tasted peace, chaos looks cheap. Once you've built inner power, external noise becomes background static. Let me answer the question whispering in your mind. Why does my silence bother them so much? Because silence exposes them. Silence forces them to face themselves. Silence proves they never had control in the first place. They text you paragraphs, hoping for crumbs. They stir drama, hoping for a spark. They spread rumors, hoping to wound you. But you don't react, you don't flinch, you don't descend. Your silence isn't weakness, it's a verdict, and they know exactly what it means. They don't matter anymore. Number 8. When your stillness became the trap they walked into. Still water looks harmless until you realize it's deep enough to drown every lie they ever told. Your silence was never surrender. It was the cleanest execution of strategy you've ever pulled off. Anyone can yell, anyone can react, anyone can waste breath on people who treat emotions like toys. But choosing stillness, choosing restraint, choosing to shut the gates and let them scream outside, that's mastery. That's evolution. That's what happens when the chosen one gets tired of feeding wolves who only bite the hand that nourished them. Imagine this, a battlefield where one warrior drops their weapon and simply stands there. No fear, no panic, just presence. The enemy begins shaking, not because of violence, but because every move they make reveals their weakness. That's what your stillness does. It exposes them. Let me answer the question floating in your mind. Do they notice my silence? They notice it more than your words ever mattered. It keeps them awake. It keeps them guessing. It keeps them terrified of what happens next. They don't have access to your mind anymore. No access to your truth. No access to your evolution. Your transformation is happening in locked rooms, behind closed doors, in places their energy can't enter. Stillness isn't absence. Stillness is preparation. Stillness is power evolving without witnesses, and they'll never see the new you coming. Number 9. When you evolved into the version they can't touch, even in their dreams. They feared your darkness until they realized it was the only part of you they could never control. Here's the truth they never expected to face. Once your other side wakes up, it doesn't go back to sleep. This isn't a phase. This isn't a costume. This is your final form, stepping into the room without apology. And now that it's active, it stands guard like a sentinel, watching everything, analyzing everyone, ensuring no one ever gets close enough to cut you the same way twice. Imagine unlocking a new sense, a sixth awareness that sees patterns before they happen. That's not paranoia, that's intelligence sharpened by survival. You learn to read intentions like weather forecasts. You learn to detect manipulation before the first word is spoken. You learn to recognize guilt wrapped in nostalgia, concern wrapped in control, I miss you wrapped in strategy. Let me answer what you're thinking. Does this make me cold? No, it makes you complete. You didn't become less angelic, you became more. Real angels aren't floating ornaments, they're warriors with vision in both directions, light and shadow. By embracing your darker instincts, you finally integrated what was always inside you. And now, they're spiraling. They're sending mutual friends to fish for information. They're posting bait online, hoping you'll bite. They're rewriting history to paint themselves as victims. But you're untouchable. You see through every tactic, every script, every recycled performance. Some of them even try poking your old buttons, desperate to trigger the version of you that cried, apologized, explained, overextended. But those buttons, they don't exist anymore. You rewired your entire system. Your new frequency is silent, elevated, unreachable. That's what terrifies them. You didn't just move on, you moved beyond. Number 10, when your energy upgraded and their access card stopped working. Once you rise to a higher frequency, the people who fed on your chaos suffocate in your peace. You didn't just outgrow them, you out-evolved them at a molecular level. You're operating on a wavelength where their toxicity can't breathe, where their games fall flat, where their manipulation hits a firewall they can't crack. You changed your internal coding. You became incompatible with dysfunction. That's why their old tricks don't land. They're trying to run on software you deleted. Imagine having a built-in radar that picks up lies before they even form. That's your new frequency, a truth detector disguised as intuition. You sense intentions before the first word drops. You read silence better than most people read full sentences. Your boundaries now operate automatically, like a security system that locks doors before danger even reaches the porch. This new vibration doesn't pull in chaos. It attracts people who honor your peace. People who match your growth instead of draining it. People who don't flinch at your standards, but rise to them. And when the old crowd sees you building new connections, effortlessly, naturally, they feel the sting of being replaced by your evolution, not your revenge. What truly destroys them is how stable you've become. No crashes, no breakdowns, no regression. You're not acting different. You are different. Permanently. You feared darkness would corrupt you, but it completed you. You feared boundaries would isolate you, but they protected you. You feared choosing yourself was selfish, but it made you sovereign. You're not vibrating higher just for peace. You're vibrating higher because you finally remembered who you are. Number 11. When your wholeness became the nightmare they can't wake up from. Nothing frightens a user more than realizing their favorite broken person finally put themselves back together with no cracks left to grab. They never wanted you healed. They needed you insecure, questioning yourself, bending for approval that never should have mattered. Your brokenness gave them purpose. Your doubts fed their ego. Your softness made them feel powerful. But now, Your completion exposes their emptiness like a spotlight on a hollow stage. Imagine this, a puzzle they once controlled piece by piece, suddenly snapping into place without their help. That's you now, whole, integrated, unreachable, and it terrifies them because your wholeness shows how small they always were. Let me answer the thought creeping in your mind. Am I doing this to get back at them? No, your evolution isn't revenge, it's recovery. Your boundaries aren't weapons, they're restoration. Your distance isn't punishment, they're simply no longer relevant in your story. You're untouchable now, not because you're violent or vengeful, but because you're complete. You can't manipulate someone who's integrated their shadow. You can't guilt someone who faced their own shame and won. You can't break someone who rebuilt themselves using the ashes as bricks. Imagine trying to drown someone who learned to breathe underwater. That's how futile their tactics are now. You became your own validation, your own sanctuary, your own home. And that self-sufficiency, it terrifies people who depended on your dependence. This isn't a phase. This isn't mood-driven. This is irreversible evolution, a molecular shift they can't undo, touch, or influence. The old version of you, hurting, hopeful, hesitant, no longer exists. You've seen too much, felt too much, survived too much to ever shrink back into someone convenient. Now, your presence has gravity. People sense your boundaries before you speak. They sense your strength in your silence. You've become your own security system, your own sacred ground. And when you look in the mirror, the shock isn't loss, it's recognition. You didn't lose yourself. You finally found the version of you they hoped would never rise. Number 12. When the story came full circle and you became their final consequence. Poetic how every person who tried to break you ended up building the version of you they can never touch again. Now, everything snaps into place, doesn't it? The betrayals weren't accidents, they were chisels. The losses weren't punishments, they were clearing the ground. Every ending was a disguised doorway. Every heartbreak was scaffolding. While you were busy thinking you were collapsing, the universe was constructing something lethal, beautiful, untouchable. And now that the masterpiece is finished, they're forced to face what they created with their own hands. A version of you forever beyond their reach. Imagine a circle drawn in fire. You walked it all, light, shadow, hope, destruction, and somehow came out whole. You stand here as everything they underestimated, angel and demon, healer and warrior, softness and steel, woven into one unstoppable force. They demanded to see your other side. Now they're living with it. Let me answer what flickers in your mind. Do I need closure? No. Closure is a door they no longer own. Apologies don't interest you. Explanations don't move you. Validation no longer fuels you. You stopped proving, stopped chasing, stopped shrinking. You don't defend your name anymore because your presence does it for you. And that silence you carry, it isn't hollow, it's loaded. Loaded with peace, power, clarity, self-respect, and every piece of yourself you reclaimed from their chaos. When they see you now, they see distance they can't cross, strength they can't shake, evolution they can't undo. You didn't win against them. Winning still puts you on the same playing field. You transcended them. You evolved into a realm they'll never access. Your story didn't just continue, it outgrew their entire reality. That's full circle. And now we arrive at the edge of everything, where the story settles, where the transformation roots itself, where you step fully into the version of you they swore would never exist. You're complete now, chosen one, untouchable, awake, evolved beyond their reach forever. If this hit your soul the way truth always does, like the video, subscribe to the channel, drop 77 in the comments, and share this message so other chosen ones can rise with you.